If we would have done that months back, I think it would have been a mistake. I do think a lot of industries are oversaturated, and the size of your team does not equate to success, and I will die on this hill. We did not do this in the beginning, which is what nearly caused us to shut down. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Just Grow With It.
I've always been a little impulsive. I get an idea and just go with it. But that's the thing about life and business. You're always growing, learning, and figuring it out as you go. Welcome to Just Grow With It, the podcast where I share lessons I've learned as a founder and creator, the mistakes, the pivots, and the wins, and how staying consistent can change everything. So if you're ready to grow with me, let's get into it.
I told you that there wasn't going to be an episode this week, but I lied. I wanted to wrap this year up nicely with a little bow, and I wanted to film a video at this time of year when everyone is kind of thinking about what's to come the following year, prepping for the next year, reflecting back on this previous year, and I wanted to film a video all about the lessons that I've learned in 2025, and I definitely think that this year I have learned a ton of lessons. I've grown a lot. It has been one of the most monumental years of my life. And it's really symbolic that it is the end of my 20s because I turned 29 this year. Next year I turn 30. And it's just really symbolic that my 29th year has been such a monumental year. And I like the cliches, so that feels right to me. I feel like I've grown the most at 29. I've grown the most professionally and personally. My career has taken off in a way that I really didn't expect, something that I've always hoped for, but I really didn't expect. And if I looked back at my life 10 years ago, I would be so proud of myself today. And I wanted to say before I start this video, if you have enjoyed any of my business content, if you've enjoyed entrepreneurship content, if you like this type of video and you want to see more behind the scenes of building a company, I really would appreciate if you could subscribe, whether you're watching on YouTube, you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, please subscribe and please share this with your friends, whether it's on your Instagram story or just sending it through a text. Like if you know anyone that this would be helpful for, that means so much to me. That's the biggest way that I receive feedback. So I just wanted to say that before we jump into the meat of this episode. But without further ado, let's get into my 2025 lessons that I have learned this year running a business. As I've alluded, 2025 was the year that truly everything changed for me as a founder. Not only did we go from pretty much thinking that we might not survive in the beginning of the year, January was actually supposed to be the month that we shut down. If you guys don't know the story, in October, I told my investors and the entire team that we were going to shut down and we only had runway until January. So by January, we were going to close the books of Rella. So the fact that we were supposed to start this year shutting down and we're ending this year with being profitable, with hitting $2 million in ARR, with having thousands of customers, like that is just so beyond crazy to me. And so just the juxtaposition of that is completely mind-blowing. Lesson number one is that niching down is necessary. It is no longer optional. I have been told every year that the social media industry is oversaturated. Entrepreneurship is oversaturated. Like it's really hard to come up with a new idea or a new concept or stand out as a creator. And I never believed people when they told me that it was oversaturated. I always thought that, there's always room for more people. There's always room for more businesses. And while I wholeheartedly agree with that still, I actually do think that we have entered a time where we are a little oversaturated with businesses, with content creation, that unless you niche down, it's going to be really hard to stand out. So I think we're oversaturated in just the generic business content, the generic lifestyle creator, or just the generic business that posts the same type of content as everyone else in that industry. I do think a lot of industries are oversaturated. And so if you are going to start a business, start as a content creator, no matter what it is. It does not matter what type of business you do, whether you're a mom and pop shop, a small business, a freelancer, a startup, it doesn't matter. You have to niche down and you have to be very particular with who your audience is. We did not do this in the beginning, which is what nearly caused us to shut down. And in 2025, we were so hyper specific with who our target audience was. We did not entertain any other partnership opportunities that came our way that had nothing to do with our target audience. We had feature requests that would, kind of grow us horizontally and introduce a new set of audiences. We've had big creators want to work with us that just didn't make sense for who we were targeting. And we had to say no to a lot of things. And truthfully, we said no to more things than we said yes to this year. And I think it actually really helped, which is a whole other lesson in and of itself. But we had to niche down. And I did that similarly with my content. If you haven't noticed what you guys are watching right now, I used to not have this podcast. I used to not focus entirely on business content. I had to make the decision to niche down, and I'm trusting saying that it is the right decision, because I learned that lesson with Rella and I'm moving forward with that with my content creator stuff. But if you are starting a business, please, please, please make sure your audience is hyper specific. Do not build for everyone. Build for a very specific type of person. Think of one person in your head, and if it does not make sense to build a feature, to work with a creator, to form a partnership, to solve a problem for that specific person you're thinking of in your head, then do not do it. It absolutely could save your business. And just to put it into practice, a simple question that you can start with is, who is this for? Whether it's your business, whether it's your content, no matter what it is, who is this for? And if you cannot come up with one singular answer and one very specific person, you should go back to the drawing board and niche down a little further. And before we go into lesson number 2, I did want to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is Squarespace. If you guys have a business, you absolutely need to have a website. And instead of spending thousands of dollars on someone to build your website or thousands of dollars on someone to code it or design it, you can just use Squarespace. It is the #1 website builder. I've used so many other website builders in the past that promise the customization that Squarespace has, but it never delivers the way Squarespace does. Squarespace's templates is truly what sets them apart, in my opinion. They have the most gorgeous templates, so even from like a blank state, your website is already going to look better than like so many other businesses and everyone else's website. And the great thing is that you can customize it, so you can customize it to make it completely your own. We actually have Rella's website on Squarespace. We love using their other tools like their analytics. We've used their forms. We've used marketing tools from Squarespace. We use their SEO suggestions for our blog posts. It has been such a game changer for our business, and we cannot recommend anything more than Squarespace. They also have AI, which is going to help you build your website in just a few minutes. So what might have taken you an hour to build a website can now take you 5 minutes or less. And again, all the customization is still there, so you can still customize everything. And I definitely recommend you try it if you are in a pinch and maybe this break before the new year, you're trying to start a new website. Definitely check it out. And you can get 10% off using my coupon code NatalieBarbu or go to squarespace.com/NatalieBarbu. Lesson number 2 is that customer obsession needs to be lived out, not just sold. I cannot tell you how many companies I've interacted with that, like on their website or in their company values, they always say that they're customer obsessed, that their customers mean everything to them. They love their customers. They're listening to their customers. And then when you contact support, it's crickets. When you try to give them feedback or suggest a feature, no one cares. No one's listening. And I just feel like that is such a missed opportunity, especially if you are a small business. I feel like everyone has heard of the phrase, do things that don't scale when you're smaller, and that cannot be more true with customer support. I have had people tell me, why are you still doing customer support? Like, you need to outsource it. That is not a good use of your time, because if you guys didn't know, I am a co-founder and I am also the CEO of Rella, and I am still in our customer support inbox every single day. I see every single message that comes in. I think it has really shaped Rella to be a business that is built with our users in mind. So we directly hear from our users via email, via our Canny, which allows users to vote and request features. We are constantly listening to them. We're actually about to do this whole 2-week thing where we're going on feedback calls with some users, and we are just listening to them with what they want us to improve in the product. And I don't know why more founders do this. I think maybe some founders think that they're like above doing customer support, but you're not. Like, I want to be doing this part of my business forever, if I'm being honest, because it has been the #1 thing that has helped us shape Rella and grow Rella to what it is today. We're a small team, we're a small company. Inevitably, there are going to be bugs, there's going to be issues, there's going to be things that people deal with when using Rella. No software is perfect, but the only thing that's worse than a bug is a bug with no one that's listening to you on the other end. I have experienced bugs with products that I've used, and it's so frustrating when there's no one on the other end, or it's just an automated robot, and I feel like helpless with this. But on the other hand, when I've experienced bugs and I've reached out to support and they've actually answered me, it's like Squarespace has amazing 24/7 support. I feel supported. I feel like, oh, okay, it's okay if something goes wrong because someone is going to be there on the other end to help me. And that is exactly what we tried to do with Rella. If you're building a business, do not let customer support just be like a tagline. Actually embody it. My advice to all founders would be not to outsource customer support until you absolutely have to. And even when you have to, outsource it, but still be in it every single day. So you can outsource, 90% of it, but that 10% that you can answer, you should still be addressing customers' needs and listening to them. Another lesson that I've learned this year is that being small is actually productive. And what I mean by that is that We are a very small team. Up until the past few weeks, we have been a team of the 4 co-founders. This month, we did just hire 2 additional team members. So we now are a team of 6. And it feels so surreal to me to be a team of 6 because for the longest time, it was just the 4 of us. And I will say that when you are small, you have such an advantage because you're so productive. The 4 co-founders knew the product in and out. We didn't even need to have the most organized systems. We didn't have to spend time on our systems because we could just get things done on the fly, get things done really quickly. When you get too big, your role essentially ends up just managing people. And I don't want that to be my role right now. I want to be as small as possible. The size of your team does not equate to success. And that's definitely not something that I ever want to take pride in, is the fact that we have X amount of team members, because I actually think that it's more impressive to build something great with a small team rather than a big team. And so try to stay as small as possible to maintain productivity and only hire when you need to. So you should be asking yourself as a founder, can we solve this with better systems, with better tools, with, maybe operating things a little bit differently versus, oh, we just need to hire someone to do this. Like, we really held off on hiring until we absolutely saw the clear value. And now, of course, I'm so happy that we hired, but if we would have done that months back, I think it would have been a mistake, and we would have just spent more time like managing people and training people and trying to figure out, okay, how can we integrate you into our team, versus now when we have hired people, it's like, oh, we have a very clear need and a very clear role. Here you go. And that has been so much better than just hiring for the sake of like, well, we're making money. And so the next step is to hire. And something similar to that is not comparing your trajectory to someone else's. This obviously can be in a personal element or a business element, but specifically from like a founder business perspective, I have spent too long comparing Rella journey to someone else's journey, especially when we weren't doing well. So when we weren't doing well, I would always think like, oh, like look at that company, like they're doing so well. Why can't we do that? And it would really get into my head and it would make me feel truly like a failure. But LinkedIn is like the biggest highlight reel. People are bragging on LinkedIn all the time about things that really aren't that impressive. They're really bragging about like vanity metrics and trying to make themselves feel a lot better. And the reason why I'm saying people do this is because I used to do this, guys. Like, I am embarrassing myself. I'm being transparent. When Rella wasn't doing well, we really didn't have that much to brag about, but I was still posting on LinkedIn. Like, it like cringes. I'm like cringing when I see my previous LinkedIn posts, and people probably thought that we were doing really well, but truly we were just surviving. We were just keeping our head above water. My timeline is going to be different than someone else's timeline, and I need to focus on my business. I've said this before, but I think your business is like your unique DNA or your fingerprint, where everyone's is going to look different. So your set of challenges, your trajectory, your roadmap, who you're targeting, what problems you're facing, those will all be completely different than your friend's business next door or the other business in your industry. As founders, we can relate to each other, we can share our struggles, we can share our challenges, but no 2 businesses are going to look the same. So no 2 problems are going to be the same. No 2 roadmaps are going to be the same. So I really try not to compare our business plan or our business roadmap to anyone else's. We are in our own lane, and as long as we service our customers and continue to build the best product that we can, we are on the right path. And that's really all I look at. And the same goes for headcount. If your competitors or someone that's making you the same amount of money as you has a much bigger team, do not let that fool you into thinking that you all of a sudden need that. You know what your business needs as the founder, and you just have to have the utmost confidence that you are going to make the right decisions, and you cannot pay attention to whatever anyone else is doing. Another lesson we've learned is not to plan anything too far ahead, because it's going to change anyways. For so long, we were always thinking about what does the next year look like? What does the next 5 years look like? And although we have ambitious goals for the next 5 years, the next year, we have spent about 5 minutes thinking about them. Like, we are not thinking about our 1 year journey in January. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, what's 2026 going to look like? What's December of 2026 going to look like? And like, I have no idea. I literally have no idea. We have revenue goals just based off of like what we've done this year. But that was just a simple math formula. If we grow X% month over month, this is where we'll be. Do we have like roadmap feature wise goals? No, we have feature goals for the next quarter. We work on like a quarterly basis because we found that anything after that is just, you're wasting time and you're making it up because things are going to change. And I think it's an advantage of being small, like that we can be super scrappy. So we don't need to plan a year in advance, but we don't plan more than a quarter at a time. Like, our investors will ask us like, okay, well, what are your goals for the next like 3 years? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I mean, we have like very, very ambitious goals that we've, thought of, but they're not things that we're necessarily like, oh, in 3 years, we want to have this many customers, this revenue, we will have this plan, this feature, this is what it's going to look like, this is going to be our headcount, we're going to get acquired for this amount of money, whatever. Like those plans are not on our horizon because we are just thinking about what do we need to do this next quarter to continue to advance Rella's mission. And that is all we're thinking about. If not, it's going to change, and we just wasted a bunch of time planning for it. You should have a vision for where you're going, but you should hold plans and details very, very loosely. Another huge lesson that we've learned this year is that consistency is the most important trait for founders. I will die on this hill. I would love to know what your most important trait for founders is. I think it's consistency. I think consistency shows strength. It shows perseverance. It shows the ability to pivot and to strategize. It's just like every founder needs to not give up, because I don't care what business you're starting. I don't care what founder you talk to. Every business has ups and downs. Starting a business is one of the hardest things that you'll ever do. And I think too many people give up too early because they don't see the success right away. And you guys, if we gave up within 3 years of starting Rella, we wouldn't be where we are today. Like, I truly think that being consistent is the best quality, and you need to continue until like you have no other options and you're just like tired of it and you're giving up. But don't quit too early. My entire professional career journey is directly attributed to consistency. If I wasn't consistent with posting content, I would not be where I am today. If I was not consistent with my business, we would not be here today. If I was not consistent with the everyday mundane tasks that we do at Rella, Rella would not be where we are today. I'm going to put this out there in the universe. If I am not consistent with Just Grow With It and with founder focused podcasts, I will not have a successful career as a creator. Like, being consistent is the number one thing you can do. I could have quit so many times and I didn't. And I've seen that in so many other founders as well, where there were so many moments where it would make sense to quit and they didn't. And they came out the other end with a lot more growth. And that is exactly why I think consistency is the most important trait in a founder, because there are way too many things that you will not learn just because you have given up early. You have to stop waiting for motivation, and you just need to build routines and systems that keep you moving. I am more than convinced that the founders that make it are not the smartest. They're not the busiest. They're not the ones pulling all-nighters every night and completely deteriorating their health for it. They are just showing up every single day, and they are consistent every single day. And those people are the ones that are the winners. Those were just a couple of lessons that I have learned in 2025. I cannot wait for the lessons that I learned in 2026. I'm definitely hoping that it's not too many, because I don't want too many challenges ahead, but I know that that's part of being a business owner. I would love to know any of the lessons that you have learned, and if there's anything else that you want me to post about, please let me know. I've absolutely loved doing this podcast this year and this style video. I say podcast, but obviously I'm posting these on YouTube, and like you guys are watching them. So they're like my YouTube video podcast hybrid, and I really hope that you guys have enjoyed them. Let me know what other content you want to see. I think I will be filming when I am home in North Carolina for Thanksgiving, just to give you guys an insight into my life as someone that resets as a founder. So it's not always work mode all the time. I want to show you a realistic balance of being a founder, and I will be vlogging that. My boyfriend from London is also in town, so you guys will see his first Thanksgiving. But thank you guys so much for watching my videos, for sticking around for this like new form of content. I really appreciate it, and I cannot wait for next year. Obviously, the year's not over. We're still in November, but December is going to be a really great month, and it's going to be a hectic month with the holidays. So I appreciate you sticking around. Let me know what other topics you want, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.